M+ minimal guide. I'll go through all the dungeons and specify interesting or notable abilities and ways to deal with them. I will not waste everyone's time with things like interrupt this or dodge that. However, it is not the secrets video from last season either, so no borderline exploits here. Not yet anyway. The guide will also include and focus on the damage abilities, warning DPS when to use defensives, or helping healers rotate their CDs and ramp. Let's go. Nexus-Points Xenas. Left side, Flux Engineers have an ability that applies a slow dot circle, which can be removed by freedom, shapeshifting, disengage, etc. This will be a common theme through a lot of these dungeons. Their other quirk is dropping a battery which needs to be destroyed or LOS'd. The dispellable dot says that it reroutes all healing, but it seems to only duplicate it, meaning it does not deny healing. Last thing before the boss is the circles. The small ones are slow and not that hurtful, while the big ones are very quick to trigger and stun. I mention this because I see a lot of people greed casting, confusing the two, and getting stunned. The first boss, Karesh, no, not the zone, you get a debuff, you soak the lines. You do this 3 times and then a spirit bomb drops. Now the relevant thing here, you need to delay the 3rd soak because after it there will be an extra line, which might restrict the area to the point where you can no longer dodge the big ball or the pushback. The big absorb happens every 45 seconds, so keep CDs and ramp for it. It is also quickly followed by another soak dot, so be careful. Outside of that, bait puddles. Now for the trash on the right. Duskrite Herald puts an absorb on your party. The unique thing about it is that it also siphons health, healing them. Work through it as fast as you can. The big inactive ads can also be awoken if smudges enter it. Do not allow it. The last enemy worth mentioning is the Dreadful. It has a frontal AoE, which becomes important later on. Now, the boss. Get out with the circles, heal the circle players, get in the light, and heal players during the light. The first intermission happens 30 seconds into the fight, with a 1-minute cooldown between further intermissions. The biggest issue is the ads spawning when going out with the circles, which can aggro on you. Also, you may have an unfortunate overlap when you would want to stay in the light for the bonus damage or heal. However, the frontal ad is still up. Make sure it does not hit you or that the tank faces it away. Next is the Lingering Image. It has a claw ability which targets the closest player. Ensure that is not you, but the tank. Next, well, empower the altar first. And next, the last boss. Heal the damage, and when the clones are up, interrupt only the one without the horns. This happens every minute. Hunter's Mark or Demon Hunter's Sight can also help identify the correct target.
Divine Toll? Divine Toll?
Pit of Sauron. The Arcanist Cadaver. You see this purple light? It is a beam calling upon the mothership to absolutely delete you. Interrupt the cast. I am mentioning a mere interrupt because the enemy is marked as unimportant and oftentimes players do not see the HP or cast bar. Next, some kidnapping bats. You have to break their shield before stopping their abductions. However, druid shapeshifting, monk tigerlast, etc. will save the player. This is incredibly relevant as later on there are packs with both frontals and these bats. Lumbering Plaguethorn has an enrage effect, dispel if possible, some heal absorbs that are curse dispellable, and a tank plague dispellable debuff which reduces tank HP. Last enemy worth mentioning before bosses is a Rimebone Coldwraith, which applies 2 magic dots on targets. Again, these can be removed with freedom shapeshifting effects. Before we move on, a little bit of trivia. Kangaroos hide in lakes in the hopes that you will actually chase them, in which case they will hug you and drown you. How is this relevant for... okay. So, do you see that guy over there casting through walls? Well, if you follow him, expect a similar kind of hug. First boss, Big Giant. Dodge stuff, tank breaks one rock, hide behind the other. The only interesting fact here is that it applies to magic dots, which, you guessed it, are dispellable by freedom effects. This happens every 30 seconds. Obelix and Asterix. Interrupt stuff, kill stuff, dodge stuff. The only interesting part here is that the shades apply debuffs, which can either be removed by interrupting, dispelling, or, again, freedom effects. Also, during the fixate, I am pretty sure his range is bigger than that of a melee attack. The following trash with 3 Grave Blades will really hurt the tank. Have some external CDs ready. After that, edgy named boss number 3. Boring boss. Use a circle to soak the trash that has mothership beams, and then big heals in the intermission. This is every 1 minute. Also, the reduced tank max HP disease debuff is back. Conference of Luca. I'm really proud of this joke, please laugh. In the first room, there are some dots that also slow, which means just how much stuff can we remove with freedom effects? Seriously, Blizzard. As for the boss, he cannot touch the adds or puddles, and there is a decent damage spike every minute. Bonus, if the druid swaps to Master Roots and resets it correctly, you may never have to switch DPS to adds. Furthermore, stunning the add before it dies denies the puddle drop. Rift Warden. Do not pull him away from his portal. Shadowguard Champion has an Enrage effect, and more of those dot circles that can be removed with freedom effects. In case you intend to do a skip here, ensure you are hugging the wall and not doing whatever we were doing here. Next boss, Void Hunter with pets. Cat Pet jumps on the closest player, Bird Pet jumps on the farthest and needs interrupted. Stack so you place bombs close and clear them with a circle. If you miss any, the tank can soak a few. The big damage happens every 35 or so inconsistent seconds. The rest of trash is really just heal and dodge. Third boss. Dodge, kill adds, and go to boss when the arena is small. Honestly, the damage here is rather consistent, so use CDs when needed. Finally, a last boss. Now, this is a bit weird. There are 5 crystals active. You can tell by the fact that they are bigger. You get a set of 3 lines, which you can use to hit these crystals. They also change animation if your line is on them, and they go small after being hit. After each set of beams, the boss also activates 1 more crystal, and does some big must-dodge circles on them. Now, in theory, you can do this every 2 sets of lines, which would take 1 minute, and a 30-second intermission. However, you may wish to fail 1 set of lines for your DPS cooldowns to line up better, as during the 30 seconds intermission, it receives 200% extra damage. This depends on party compositions. For healing, the AoE comes from the active runes, so at the start of the fight and after every intermission, damage is at its highest. Hogwarts houses. Pick up your preferred buff and proceed to wipe on the most inhuman pool. Now, I have to tell you, even though you will not listen, stop pulling the entire room. Unless you have a tank that is a dwarf to remove the bleed effect, or an evoker, your tank will die and you will break the key. If you don't, at least have the decency to vortex to keep the mobs from jumping and de-enrage them. Remember, the damage ramps up as the fight goes on, so keep defensives for the end of the pool. Next, Treebeard. The odd-numbered sets, so first, third, etc., of adds really do not do anything, so you can slowly cleave them, while the even-numbered second, fourth, will actually sprout and apply a nasty poison on the tank. Oh, who am I kidding? You're all padding on every single set of adds. Kill the big ad and soak the circle. Remember to push the ad away, as it also heals the boss. As an added bonus, the dot is not really that big these days, so feel free to ignore 1 ad and focus boss, leaving the healer to deal with the dot significantly longer. Remember, you can outrange LOS or even tank the sentry, but the circle spawns are a bit bugged, so be aware. The Alpha Eagles have an AoE Enrage, In the last set, where there is 2 of them, wait until they both cast before de-enraging. For the boss, at 66 and 33% HP, you need to put the bolts in. People prefer the wind first and the fire after these days. The wind pushes you around, but these buffs spawn around the boss for a 45% haste buff for 20 seconds, while during the fire period, it takes 75% extra damage for 12 seconds. I would suggest leaving the haste buffs to the DPS and keep the cooldown for the later phases, as they are significantly harder. The AoE that leaves a dot happens throughout the fight every 25 seconds. Next up is some very scary trash. The big dragon will mark you with a big circle, which leaves a huge dot. You can dodge this with Night Elf or Greater Invis, etc. Also, beware of the push. In the same category is the remaining trash before the elemental boss. People like mass pooling here, and you need a lot of mass stuns and good control. For the boss, the bowls that need soaking spawn every 15 seconds and leave a 17-second debuff, increasing further soak damage. I would suggest doing the first bowl soak ASAP, while delaying the second one until the last second. However, even if failing this, the damage is not going to one-shot you. Alongside this, there are dots that leave puddles, followed by one big AoE every 45 seconds. The last trash to talk about are the Echo Knights, which do big AoE one after the other. Heal quickly. As for the last boss, it is a nightmare. It applies stacks randomly as well as through these weird circles, which, while dispellable, needs not to be. These stacks give 5% haste, a significant dot, and upon reaching 3, players reset and drop a puddle which shoots projectiles. The boss also pulls you every 30 seconds, which can make you collide with the balls. I really have no practical advice here. Keep moving the boss to clean areas and pray. Skydiving bugs. Raging Squall has a really nasty enrage effect where they do pulsing AoE damage. Also, the birds have a knockback, always face the wall, because if you are really unlucky, it will not kill you. And yeah, rip key. Now, before pulling the first boss, make sure everyone is in the room or they get insta-killed. This is to prevent people from standing on the previous platform and just damage the boss. As for the boss itself, just dodge stuff. Honestly, that is it. On the next set of trash, make sure to kill the random orbs that spawn. For the second boss, soak the lasers so it does not get healed, and that is it. The lasers happen every 30 seconds and are constant damage. However, every 2 sets of lasers, there is also a big AoE. Make sure to top people off from lasers when that happens. After some more trash that has a fixate, coming from marked for death, stun or do not be in melee. Third boss, it spawns ads with an interesting name. Do not kill it over the egg of the previous one, and it is all good. One on the edge and one behind the pillar during the hide from boss intermission. Damage is constant, again, not much to be said. Now for everyone's favorite part, the wind tunnel. I have seen people find ways to jump bypassing the gate. I have seen demon hunters just levitate. I have seen druids use their legion travel form, which for some reason allows them to mount in a dungeon and carry another player. This whole thing is a nightmare.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Follow this track if you have no idea how to skip it, and activate the orb at the end to disable it for the other players. The last thing worth mentioning is there is another pushback bird before the end. This is relevant because it can push a player off the platform, force one of the jump to player birds to jump after him, resetting entire packs, and I'm not sure what is even happening anymore. There really isn't a wall to put your back on. Make sure you do not get thrown off. The last boss is one of the most constant and really hard healing checks, so beware. On top of that, make sure you tank it along the wall and always stay behind the boss to drop the pools of fire. It is important to be away from the ledge because of the ad that can grab you. Although, again, some classes can really cheese this by using a Warlock Teleport or Hunter Disengage before being thrown off the cliff. Not really a terrace. There are a few ways to do the library skip. One is to have the entire party go there very quickly and pull the Pyromancer. When finished, this would remove all the annoying ads and their stun circles. The other way is jump here. Now, this can heavily backfire if the tank is not aware, as you would end up usually pulling some of the books. On that subject, pick up the book in the middle of the room for a 5% party haste buff. Last thing before the boss, the Brightwing Worms give a stacking and refreshing 1% damage and heal buff, up to 24%, alongside some party damage. I have seen quite a few things here, chain pulling the 2 packs into the boss, druid rooting one target and dealing with it later just to refresh the stacks. I'll go more into detail in the secrets video, but there are a few things you can do here. Now, for the boss itself, it does this AoE pushback. Do not panic, do not use a heal CD. There is nothing after this, so you can heal at your own leisure. Unless you pulled the previously mentioned ads, in which case, good luck. If the tank did this right, the boss is in a corner during the intermission and you have to soak the bowls. These apply a 3-second dot. Make sure you do not double soak, as this really hurts. This phase happens every 45 seconds. Next, the Ruined Spellbreakers. These apply a dot on 2 party members, which is really hard to heal. Next boss is one that really annoys DPS players because it stops them from doing damage. You have to go with the debuff circle into the dome to remove it, which causes party slows and damage. Do not overlap these and make sure you finish them before the big boss AoE, where you have to hide in the dome. There is a bug here where sometimes the ads on the hallway do not spawn. I honestly have no clue why or how to avoid it. Next, the Shadow Void Color has a big AoE, but beware of the small ads. Upon death, they apply a party-wide debuff, increasing shadow damage, which causes issues. Defensives when you have the debuff, as convincing the DPS players to control their damage is not something that will happen. On the next boss, there is one ad worth mentioning, Devouring Tyrant. It applies huge tank heal absorbs. More later. Now, the boss, Squidward and friends. Drop puddles on the edge, remove the shield by following the arrow, and maybe hold both DPS and healing CDs for when all 5 are out. The pool is particularly brutal as it forces you to heal on the move, as getting pulled in pretty much one-shots you. This happens every 30 seconds and gets worse the more Lastly, another set of big AoE and tank absorb dudes. While I do not have footage of this, you can use a Warlock portal to skip. Lastly, the volleyball boss, Soak, Dispel, and Constant Heal. This boss is really boring. Release Runner Spite. Honestly, I am glad for having the speed boots to come back after releasing, but man, it still feels pretty bad. Big heal checks on the first pool. There will be 4 dispellable dots applied by the 2 Restless Stewards. This mob will be encountered again throughout the dungeon, but never 2 in a pack from here on. Also, at 50% health, the Magus drops a dome that reduces your damage, push, or move the enemies out. Dragonhawks have a single target dot that hurts. It can be stopped if CC'd. For the boss, dodge and heal, nothing special. Just make sure you move out of the puddle ASAP, as the damage from it triggers very quickly. After this, more trash that is just dodge, heal, dispel. Necrotic Wake hook mechanics come back into fashion with the next boss. Hide behind the Phantom to get it hooked and stop the damage channel. Outside of that, drop the puddles behind the boss, Curse Dispel the ads or CC them, and lastly, beware of the Enrage when just one of the bosses is alive. Callis, the Phantom, Enrage is particularly brutal. Next, if you happen to die here, do not release. Wait for the party to activate the next Resurrect Stone. The next birds have an AoE interrupt, do not cast during it, and bait the charge into a wall. This pack has Mass and Rage. I would suggest soothing the Spectral Axe Thrower. Not much else here, CC, heal, and interrupt. The boss went through a number of minor reworks, so I am not sure what is true anymore or what will be changed further down the line. So just the basics. Stack with the fear circles, the tank buster hurts a bit, dodge stuff, kill the ads. The damage is rather linear too. And finally, what is probably the hardest boss out there. The feather on the ground both removes the dots and help you dodge the expanding circle. I would suggest at least one player take 2 feathers with 1 early just to remove the dot. It really hurts. And please do not mage blink or any fancy stuff over the circle. Yes, you will dodge it, but the dot will remain on you and I will cry. After each expanding circle, you get a soak circle on you to remove the puddles. Make sure your circle contains the ghost. It is not sufficient to have it touch the puddle. Lastly, after all this mess, the boss picks a random player to do a frontal on. Spread out and heal him. The first phase lacks the frontal and soak circles, just the feather jump, so it takes 30 seconds. After that, every phase loops every minute with full abilities. And lastly, Maisara Cavern. Now, the first pool is pretty insane and reminiscent of Prior of the Sacred Flame. The Big Mammoth does big AoE, the Headhunter has a snare, the Soul Eater puts puddles on the ground, and there is some random uninterruptible casts on the party. Now, none of these are particularly bad, but being trapped with a puddle under you, or a weed when you get a random spear to the face, will cause RNG deaths. Freedom or Prey when you get rooted, and defensives when the Mammoth AoEs. Plus, the Enrage the Berserker, and Heal Cut the Trolls for their regeneration. Whether you go right or left, you'll mostly encounter the same enemies as previously mentioned. The right cauldron gives avoidance and leech, while the left one gives some damage chance. For the first boss, you can enter the trap to deny the bird charge, tactic which I have been repeatedly told also works for the tank knockback, but have not been able to replicate. Furthermore, do not use a massive speed boost here, as you can slide close to or into another trap. Outside of that, there is a frontal on a random player every 45 seconds, and an AoE Disease Dispellable Dot. Next, Grim Skirmishers. Now, these guys' shield does damage when removed, either by dispelling or damage. On top of that, they have a stacking dispellable dot. Do not dispel on 1 stacks, let it go up. Here, one player periodically gets sacrificed on the altar, unless you have a freedom effect, in which case you're all good. The only other thing worth mentioning is the reanimated warrior, which, upon death, does a channel, which will revive him, stun, or interrupt that. There are also multiple skips here going through the mountains and invisible walls. The next boss has phantoms that need to crush into each other. Both collisions cannot happen at the same time due to damage, they need to be staggered. Also, they alternate spawns 30 and 45 seconds, but overall damage is consistent. Necrotic Convergence is the big AoE that requires ramp defensives and that happens every 70 seconds. Now after this, there is a big issue. You remember Grim Skirmishers from before? Well, they are back. In numbers. Big numbers. The problem is that, just like in Academy, they will pull big here because DPS players cannot help themselves, which will also cause them to full blast the entire pack, destroying the shields at roughly the same time, causing mass AoE damage and probably deaths. If you think that Blood Elf Mass Dispel helps, no, it just causes a wipe. Stagger the dispels and damage, please, or you will die. On top of that, the dots are very hard to heal. The last worthy mention goes to the drummer. This guy does massive AoE once anyone enters his range, so you need to stack and move as one. And now the final boss.
Ting tang, walla walla bing bang.
Stack a bit for the totem drops, and overall damage is consistent. During the intermission, you can interrupt the ads for bonus damage and movement. There's a nice tactic where you leave the last ad for the healer. DPS go up and pew the boss, the healer stays down and heals himself, and before the phase ends, he drops a CC on the ad and goes up. And that is about it. I hope you learned some new things and this helped you stay alive, or at least less dead. I'm already collecting footage for a more advanced guide where I will talk about RP skips, pulling mobs through walls, and other things that are not exploits and are legal, but weird. If you have questions or need some help in M+, you can join the Discord. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes!